It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Chicka, chicka, boom, boom. It's a Leo Be the Lion show. Boom, boom. Gonna tell you what you need to know. Boom, boom. Now here comes your boy Leo. Hey everyone, it's your boy Leo B. the Lion coming to you live from Subculture Radio Studios here at Respectable Street, recording live every Monday from 5 to 6 and posting later to YouTube on Leo B. the Lion channel. You can follow me on Twitter and IG at Leo B. the Lion Show. And I bring you weekly updates and predictions as it comes to the sports world pertaining to Florida teams, specifically, and also local business happenings that's going on in West Palm Beach. It's beautiful downtown West Palm Beach that we come to you live from here on Clematis at Respectable Street. And we want to make sure that you have a good time from 5 to 6 here on Mondays. And so now we're going to be talking to you a little bit about the World Cup. The World Cup, Qatar 2022, is going on right now, and it's in the middle of the group stage. Mostly all the group teams have played 2 games, and the final game of the group stage is week of the group stage is coming up. So we'll talk about that. Any upsets, if there's been big upsets, or what's going on with Team USA. Come on, I believe that we will win. Let's do it. Then I'm going to talk about NCAA football recap, what happened over the rivalry weekend, specifically UF versus FSU. And UCF played USF, and what happened during those games, and a couple other games we'll get into in the college football realm. Then I'll be talking to you about the Houston Texans taking on the Miami Dolphins in Miami. Just happened last week, and the Dolphins were able to pull out the victory 30-15. Then we'll get into the NFL news and notes, where I'll give you 5 games of notes and critique the games, and these games are going to be important to the landscape of the league. I try to pick with a preference to, I try to give you preference to a Florida team, with all the Florida teams like the Dolphins, the Jags, the Bucks, but then I also pick several popular games that you, the viewer, and other national news networks pick up. Then I'll be getting into my 5-pack of picks, my hashtag 5-pack of picks, the recap. From 2 weeks ago, I was 33, 24, and 2, and I made 5 picks since then, and I'll give you the recap for that. And then I will also get into my 5-pack of picks for this upcoming week. I have 3 college picks and 3 pro game picks. I purposely did that this week because I have a special Langford lock for you going into the college football conference championship weekend and NFL week 13. So now, after talking about what we're going to talk about on today's show, now we're going to talk about it. This is the Leo B. the Lion Show, live Mondays 5 to 6 here at Respectable Street on subcultureradio.com, or later in the week at YouTube, Leo B. the Lion channel. So let's get into the World Cup. It is La Copa Mundial 2022, or World Cup 2022. And it hasn't been all chalk. There's been a few games this week, or this past week and a half, that have really surprised some folks. We'll get into right away. The biggest surprise in the group stage so far has been Germany. Germany, their lackluster effort. Their first group match, they were coming in as a heavy favorite to Japan, and they lost in surprising fashion, in late game fashion, in the last 20 minutes to Japan, where Japan was able to get an opening group stage victory 2-1 over shocked the motherland, shocked Deutschland, shocked Germany, and Germany started off the World Cup group stage with a loss. After that, in their next group stage game, Germany was able to come from behind and score the equalizer to tie Spain. Spain had just gotten finished beating Costa Rica 7-0, and they really didn't have to beat Germany, but they wanted to still show effort, of course. You don't want to lose. So They tied with Germany, and that was a good match for Germany. But I thought Germany would be able to take care of Spain, being the bigger and stronger team. Germany likes to play with the ball in the air. They like to play size and use their outside passing, whereas Spain likes to pass you like dink and dunk, or as the announcer said it, death by 1,000 passes. And that's how the Spain likes to win, and Spain likes to beat you. They like to lull you to sleep with pass after pass after pass, little short, little dink passes. And then as soon as they see an opening, make that one play, especially with Busquets, when he makes those one little pass that you didn't see but he saw, and it's over for you. Then Germany could still make the elimination round with a win against Costa Rica and a Japan loss. If Japan somehow beats Spain, Germany will be out of the World Cup based on goal differential, and that would be one of the most surprising upsets of the World Cup history. Germany falling out of the group stage, but it was seen as this was one of the quote unquote groups of death coming into the World Cup, because you had Germany, Japan, Spain, and Costa Rica, where Costa Rica being the worst team, Japan, like we said, could compete with anybody because they just beat Germany. That was what you could say could be a group of death going for that group. Now let's switch gears from Germany being the biggest surprise, giving us the biggest upset of the World Cup so far, Japan beating Germany 2-1. Let's go back to the stateside and talk about the U.S. men's national team for a moment. The U.S. men's national team, ladies and gentlemen, has looked lackluster in their game so far. They haven't been able to really put on a ton of pressure. They've been able to get pressure in the attacking third in spurts, using their outside, using their speed, Tim Weah, and you get Musa on the other side, and you use them making runs from the midfield and getting them to the outside and on their set pieces. They've had some pressure with the set pieces, but so far in 2 games, the USA has only scored 1 goal in 2 games, and they've tied both games. The first game was against Wales, and they were in the lead 1-0, but Wales was able to tie that up in, I believe, the 78th minute, and that was a costly tie for the U.S. It now puts the U.S. men's national team in a position where they're in a must-win situation against Iran. And Iran is not only playing for their country, but now they're playing for the religion, because Iran took offense to the way that the U.S. men's national team, and it wasn't related to the U.S. men's national team. It was related to some staffer from the U.S. Soccer Federation that isn't even in Qatar with the U.S. national team. Iran's flag has a logo or a symbol of, I believe, and I'm trying to be respectful about this, I believe it's a logo or symbol describing the name Allah for people that follow Islam. And so the U.S. staffer took off that symbol on the Iranian flag. And so that caused an uproar in Iran because they took that as a religious slight. And I could see how someone from the U.S. not knowing what that symbol on the Iranian flag is would take a slight to that. I mean, I could see how the staffer wouldn't know, but at the same time, I could see how the people of Iran could take a slight to that. So the U.S. now has to face a must-win situation in their last group match against Iran, who already upset Wales, and they're poised to get out of the group stage. They do not want to lose this opportunity to get out of the group stage and take Iran farther than they've ever been in the World Cup. So USA is a must-win against Iran, who shows promise and shows good form right now that they're playing with. I really think that the U.S. can do it, but it's going to be a close game. It's going to be splitting hairs. It's going to be like 2-1, or this, it can only be a one-score game. Obviously, that's how close it can get, but it's going to be so close where it's going to be probably 7 shots to 6, 4 corners to 4 corners. It's going to be a tough matchup for the U.S. tomorrow, but I believe that they can win. The U.S. can win if Greg Berhalter puts in the right lineup, if he lets Gio Reyna play and Gio Reyna can get more time, if DeAndre Yedlin can get in the game, I really think that these experienced players can make a difference if you add them with Pulisic. I really think that the USA can go in there and can take care of business in the World Cup final game of their group stage and advance to the tournament, the knockout stage. Go USA, hashtag I believe that we will win. I believe that we will win. Let's go USA. And now, just to give you a quick little favorite update for the World Cup. Germany was one of those favorites before losing to Japan. But as of right now, how it stands, if Germany sneaks into the knockout round and they make it into the knockout round after their last game, then you could say they're back to being the favorite, because once you get to the knockout stage, anything can happen. But right now, as it stands, Spain, Brazil, and France are the favorite to go all the way, in my opinion. Yeah, Argentina lost, which is also a surprise. I forgot to mention about that. Argentina lost to Saudi Arabia in their first game, and so now Argentina and Messi and Germany and Brazil are on their heels. So let's see what that can happen, and let's see what goes on these last group stage games. See if USA gets in, see if Germany will get in, and see if Argentina, if they all can get into the knockout stage. But right now, it's Spain, Brazil, France, and England are the four favorites to take home the World Cup trophy. All right, guys. So now, after talking about the World Cup, we're now going to switch gears to a different type of ball, an egg-shaped ball, and we're going to talk about NCAA football. Yes, so I'm going to give you an update for this last week, this rivalry week that happened in college football. Let's start with UCF played USF, and it was the War on I-4, as it's affectionately called. You get a trophy that is basically an I-4 thing that has USF and UCF on it, and the winner gets that trophy every year. So UCF beat USF to win the last scheduled War on I-4. And why do I say it's the last scheduled War on I-4? Well, it's the last time the two teams have scheduled each other for the foreseeable future. UCF is going to the Big 12 next year. And being tops in the American division, the American Conference, they want to leave on a high note. So, of course, they wanted to beat their rivals one more time before they left. And I know that USF has to be licking their wounds and has to be mad that they let one slip away. I'm disappointed in UCF because UCF was up 31-7 at the start of at the start of the third quarter. They were up 31-7. But hey, it's a rivalry game, and you never know what's going to happen in college, especially college rivalries. Throw the records out, ladies and gentlemen. And just as a reminder, you're listening to the Leo Be the Lion show, coming to you live every Monday from 5 to 6 p.m. here at Respectable Street on Clematis in beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida. I talk about sports and business and with a South Florida flavor. So let's bring it to the next game that I want to talk about, and that is FSU beating UF 45-38 in Tallahassee. It was a game where FSU was 9.5 to 10-point favorites at any time during the line. So UF was able to cover, but that's just a Pyrrhic victory a hollow victory because FSU got is winning the Sunshine State rivalry for this year. Jordan Travis balled out. It just continued to solidify in my mind that I believe if Jordan Travis is the FSU quarterback next year, he'll be up for the Heisman. Mark that down, ladies and gentlemen. Jordan Travis will be up for the Heisman next year. If he's not, if he's still in the FSU uniform. He went 13 for 30, 270 yards passing, a touchdown, and no interceptions. But, oh, yeah, he had 15 carries for 83 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground also. So he had over 350 total yards with 3 TDs as they beat UF 45-38, like I said, in Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee. FSU had 5 rushing touchdowns on the day, and they were just too much for UF. They outlasted UF because UF wasn't going away. like I said, with any rivalry game, you throw out the records, especially against in-state rivals like FSU and University of Florida. The UF, like I said, also that Florida competed. UF competed, but its offense sputtered at times. Anthony Richardson, he really is a great quarterback, and he needs room to grow because he has the skill. He has the potential. I can see it in him. Anthony Richardson, you're coming on great. But you just got to put complete games together. He fell off like a Big Mac topping earlier in the game. And, if you're in a shootout, that one time you blink, that can cost you the game. So FSU won the game 45-38. One thing I did want to mention that I forgot to mention about UCF was that next week we'll be taking on Tulane in Louisiana for a rematch. It's the AAC Conference Championship game. I wish I could go to that game, but it's in Tulane, and Tulane and UCF have the same record. Tulane was number 17, and UCF about 4 weeks ago, went into Tulane and beat them to take the lead in the American Conference. So now after UCF lost to Navy, the top two teams ended up being Tulane and UCF in the American Conference. So now they're going to meet in Tulane this weekend to see who's going to take home the conference championship trophy. The next game that I want to talk about in college football is FAU. The FAU Owls lost to Western Kentucky 32-31 in overtime. This is one of those things where FAU needed this game to go 6-6 so that they could become bowl eligible. In college football, not everybody goes to a bowl game. The way you become bowl eligible is if you win 6 of your games. And just winning 6 of your games doesn't mean you're bowl eligible, because say there's 32 bowls, and at any given year there's about probably 80 teams that win 6 games. Well, some of those teams are going to go out. Some of those teams are going to get eligible to go to the bowls, obviously. So Willie Taggart and the FAU Owls were trying to become bowl eligible to win their 6th game of the season at 6-7 and trying to become bowl eligible. So they couldn't do it. They lost in overtime, another heartbreaking loss. They scored first. However, Western Kentucky went for 2 in overtime to win the game on a walk-off fashion for the 2-point conversion. And this summarily got Willie Taggart fired shortly after the game, after going 5-7 and missing bowl eligibility on the final day of the season for the 2nd straight year. It's pretty pathetic that you have all the talent and you've gotten all these transfer portal players like N'Kosi Perry, and you haven't been able to take advantage and utilize that talent to get you more than 5 wins in a season. And that's why I understand why after 3 years FAU wanted to let go of Willie Taggart, because FAU wants to be one of those teams that compete for conference championships every year. Next year, FAU is replacing UCF in the American Conference, and FAU wants to bring in a coach, wants to bring in players, wants to bring in people through the transfer portal that can help FAU get back to conference prominence and actually have them make some waves in the national scene. So FAU's season, if I had to describe it, is disappointing. In one word, disappointing, because they've had plenty of disappointing losses. There's been times where FAU has been up in the game 14, 10, 17 points, and they've let the team come back and the other team come back and win at least 3 times in the season. So now with college football season winding down, with the conference championship games coming up, let's just talk about the college football playoff, or the CFP college football playoff is almost set, except for conference championship weekend. The top 4 teams that are currently, as it stands right now, projected to be Georgia at number 1, Michigan number 2, TCU at number 3, and at number 4, University of Southern California. I think the final playoff matchups look like this. I think USC is going to beat Utah. I think TCU is going to beat is going to beat Kansas State, and Michigan's going to take care of business. Georgia's going to take care of business at LSU. So I really think and believe that the way that the college football playoff rankings stand right now are the way that they're going to finish. I don't think Clemson, with a good enough showing, even if they blew out North Carolina, I don't think Clemson could get in. LSU is definitely out of it after losing no matter what, even if they just destroy Georgia. Georgia's still going to be in it even though they lost. Even if they lose to LSU, Georgia will be, they'll like move to number 3 at the least. And also, I never know, when you say higher in the rankings, does that mean like 8, 9, 10, 11, or like 1, 2, 3? And then if you say lower in the rankings, does that mean like 7, 8, 9, or does that mean 1, 2, 3? Like, so if anybody wants to comment on my YouTube channel, those things when they be like, hey, can you go up in the channels? Does that mean go up like to 25, 26? Or does that mean go up like when you're looking at the TV screen, you go up, which is to like less numbers? So that's just a funny little quirk that I have. But anyway, UGA is going to drop in the rankings to go to number 3. Michigan, I mean, if they lose to, I don't see them losing to LSU. Michigan will stay at number 2, TCU 3, and USC 4. I think that's a great 4, unless somehow USC gets upset against the Utah Utes. Okay, and out of those 4 matchups, the toughest matchup I would say is the USC versus Utah, because that's the closest one. USC is only a 3-point favorite against Utah, and TCU is actually a 3-point favorite against Kansas State. And that line has me questioning, makes me want to take Kansas State a little bit, because that line being so small, Kansas State has like 3 losses on the season. TCU's undefeated, and they're playing in Arlington, Texas, where they say it's a neutral site game, but TCU is from Texas, so there's going to be more TCU fans in there. So my prediction for the college football top 4 playoff is the University of Georgia Bulldogs, Michigan Wolverines, TCU Horned Frogs, and the USC Trojans. All right. Now, after talking about college football preview, and what to expect out of the college football playoff, let's get into what I can't wait to talk about, and that is your Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number 1. The Dolphins beat the Houston Texans in beautiful Miami, Florida, at home, 30-15. It was a great blowout victory, which could have been an even greater blowout victory, which I'll tell you why the Dolphins left a little meat on that bone for the game. This moves the Dolphins to 8-3 after starting the season 3-0, and then Tua was out for 3 games, and now the Dolphins have won 5 straight. And guess what? When Tua starts and finishes a game, the Dolphins are 8-0, and the Dolphins are first in the division, ahead of the Buffalo Bills, ahead of the New York Jets, and the New England Patriots. But going forward, the NFL is a what have you done for me lately league. More and more, the world is a what have you done for me lately kind of world. The 8-3 start doesn't mean jack booty unless you make up for it in these next 6 games. These next 6 games that the Dolphins have, the home stretch of the season, the holiday season, the final stretch of the season, is the most important 6 games that the Dolphins have, and some would say the most competitive 6 games that the Dolphins have played in a single stretch. This will be for the whole year. The next 6 games, this gauntlet of the next 6 games are at Frisco, at LA Chargers, at Buffalo. If the Dolphins can win 2 out of 3 those games, I'll be proud of them. For 3 straight road games, the Dolphins won't be in Miami for a month. They're staying on the road when they go to San Fran. They're staying on the road after that game. They're going to stay in California and get ready to play the Chargers. Then after that, they're going to go to Buffalo, and it's probably going to be cold, snowy. And all I got to say is, Buffalo, if it's snowing and you guys try to say, oh, no, we can play because the Dolphins don't want to play in cold weather, well, guess what you did to the Browns? It was going to be the Browns versus the Bills in Buffalo, but it was snowing so much they decided to move the game to Detroit. So if it's snowing when on December 18th when the Buffalo Bills play the Miami Dolphins, and the Dolphins want to move the game, I don't want to hear talk about Buffalo is going to have the game in Buffalo. That would be kind of messed up. All right. So after being at San Fran, after being at the LA Chargers and being at Buffalo Bills, we're at home to Green Bay. Then week 17 on the road in Foxborough. It's going to be another cold matchup. It's hard to play in New England. And then to finish out the season, it's probably going to be whoever wins this game goes to the playoffs. It's going to be the New York Jets coming into Miami to take on your Miami Dolphins. In my expert opinion, it's crucial for the Dolphins in these next 6 games to go 4-2. That will put the Dolphins at a 12-5 record for the season. I personally think we're going to lose to probably Buffalo and New England. We'll probably end up beating San Fran, surprise some people, beat the Chargers because we always play the Chargers really strongly, really well. Beat Green Bay because it's at home, and beat the Jets because we're at home. So far the Dolphins are 5-1 at home. So now, if the Dolphins can go 4-2, that'll put them at 12-5. I predicted the Dolphins to go 12-5 this season and be the first wild card, the 5th seed. But depending on how the other divisional opponents do, if the Dolphins go 12-5, the Bills might end up being the wild card, and the Dolphins might end up being the division winner and hosting a playoff game. That would be awesome. So let's get back to the game that just happened where the Dolphins beat the Houston Texans 30-15. It was a tale of two halves. The Dolphins at first were, in the first half, came out like gangbusters. They were ready to win and destroy the Texans at any cost. It looked like everything the Dolphins tried was having success except for the running game, but the Dolphins stuck with it. The Dolphins were up at halftime, 30-0, and before the half ended, Tua took a couple shots and had a couple sacks and had everybody saying, all right, Tua needs to come out of the game because we're up 30-0. We thought we would be fine after that. But the Dolphins let off the gas, and the Texans were able to finish strong and put up 15 points in the third and fourth quarter combined to make the game look semi-close, 30-15. But trust me, Tua was out the second series of the third quarter, and the game was not close at all. We were up 30-0. The O-line now going forward is going to be, in my belief, is going to be the biggest question mark for the Miami Dolphins. Why I say that? Why do you say that, Leo Be the Line? Well, I'll tell you, Leo Be the Line. It's because the Dolphins O-line just lost Teron Armstead with a strained pec. And when you have a soft tissue injury like a pectoral, like a hamstring, like a forearm, a muscle injury. If you have a muscle injury and you don't rest it, it's not going to heal. Like if you just keep playing with a strained pec, a strain means it's a little tiny microscopic tears. If you tear it, that's when it actually looks like you can see that thing like tear off the bone, So Teron Armstead, he's a strained pec. So they have to rest it so that he's fine for the rest of the season so he doesn't tear his pec. Brandon Shell now is going to come in, possibly play left tackle, and Austin Jackson is going to stay as right tackle. But with Teron Armstead being left tackle and Brandon Shell being right tackle, our offensive line has been playing excellent these past few games. But now that Teron Armstead is out, something hit the glass right in front of us, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what it was. Probably a bug or something. But anyways, yeah, without Teron Armstead and what we saw from the second half of the game, and the Texans were able to get 5 sacks on the Dolphins, 4 on Tua and 1 on Skylar Thompson. It's that they need time to gel without their anchor at left tackle, and that's Teron Armstead. The entire O-line is going to have to step it up. The entire O-line is going to have to gel in a matter of week to be able to go on the road and play the San Francisco 49ers. San Francisco, looking at their team, they have a great defense. They have an opportunistic defense that with several players that play with their instincts, and that's one of my favorite types of players. like a player like Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu, where they weren't necessarily lined up in the right position, but they knew what they were doing so much, and they had such great anticipation and instincts that they knew where the ball was going to go, and they could make a play on the ball and seemingly have uncanny anticipation and awareness skills and play recognition skills. And the 49ers have a couple players like that on their defense, especially in their secondary. So Tua has to be on his P's and Q's. The Dolphins have to be on their P's and Q's. And they'll be able to take care of, get some points on the 49ers defense. As far as the game against the Texans, Tua, even though he got sacked 4 times, and especially he essentially got sacked 4 times, 3 times in the first half, 1 time in the first 5 minutes of the second half because it was out soon after that. But in one half, Tua went 22 for 36, 299 yards, had a touchdown with no interceptions, and the running game did okay without Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert was out for this game with a little ankle injury, and the whole team took it for 26 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. The reason why I say 26 carries and say that the game did okay is because they ran the ball for over 25 times. And sometimes it's not the yards, it's the amount of times you run the ball just to keep the defense honest. And or the timing of when you get those yards too, because we got 66 yards and 40 of them were first down runs. To get a first down, that's clutch. So next up for the Fins, we're going out west to play Frisco. The San Francisco 49ers are trying to be Super Bowl contenders with Jimmy Garoppolo, and now they just picked up Christian McCaffrey a couple weeks ago, and he's been a welcomed addition into not only now they have 2 dynamic players. Instead of just having Deebo Samuel, now they have Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel. And so that makes me a little worried for the Dolphins' defense. The Dolphins' secondary has been banged up. We still don't have Byron Jones back, which there's a theory out there that Byron Jones isn't going to play for the Dolphins this season, and I personally believe that because there's also conspiracy theory that Byron Jones was a Brian Flores guy. And not only that he's injured, but maybe he's not injured. Maybe he's healthy, but maybe he's a healthy scratch because he does not want to play for for Mike McDaniel. He thinks that Brian Flores got a raw deal, and all due respect to him and a credit to him if that's what he thinks, but we'll just have to move on from him in the offseason if he doesn't want to play for the Dolphins. So Mike McDaniel, he's going up against his old team. He was the running backs coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, and he is responsible for the 49ers' dynamic offense and this year's Dolphins' dynamic offense. So I'm hoping that this is the situation where McDaniel leaves, and it's a similar situation to where John Gruden left the Raiders and went to Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay Bucks and the Oakland Raiders made it in the Super Bowl, and the Bucks knew all of the Raiders' plays. And I think that personally that McDaniels knows how Coach Shanahan coaches, and McDaniels will have the advantage in the coaching realm. Even though he's a rookie head coach, even though you would think that Kyle Shanahan will be able to outcoach a rookie head coach, I think that Mike McDaniel is going to be able to out-scheme Kyle Shanahan, and Tua and the fastest show on turf is going to be able to take care of the San Francisco 49ers. I like the Dolphins to personally squeak out the victory. 29-27. It's going to be a close game. I think Jason Sanders redeems himself in San Francisco, wins the game on a game-winning field goal after Tua puts him in range to win the game. I think the Dolphins end up winning 29-27. Let's go Dolphins. All right. Now, let's move on to the NFL news and notes. 5 important games from your Week 12 slate of the NFL games. Let's get started to one of the record-breaking games of the year. It was the highest ever Thanksgiving rating. The Giants took on the Cowboys in Dallas in Jerry World. and the Dallas Cowboys won the game 28-20. The reason why I think this game got such a high rating, one, it was the middle game on Thanksgiving, so that means that people had already eaten or they were going to eat in a few hours, so they were right in the middle, so everybody was able to sit down and watch the game. Also, think of these two franchises. Some would say that the Dallas Cowboys are still America's team. So if you think of the Dallas Cowboys, who has a better following, not a better following, but a larger fan base than the Dallas Cowboys? The only team that I could think of probably are two of them. Pittsburgh Steelers and the Green Bay Packers might have a larger fan base than the Dallas Cowboys, but the Dallas Cowboys are in a bigger market. So Dallas Cowboys are an America team. And then you had the New York Football Giants. And usually, if you're a fan of the Giants, you're not a fan of the Jets if you're from New York, or vice versa. But also, I think the Giants are the more historic franchise in the NFL if you had to choose between the Giants and the Jets. The Giants have been around longer. They're one of the original NFL franchises. And the New York Giants just have that... they're more lovable than the Jets, I think. Personally, in my opinion, the New York Giants are more lovable than the Jets. I'm just saying that as a Dolphins fan and as somebody that has rooted for the Giants in multiple Super Bowls because they played against the New England Patriots, I just think that the Giants are more lovable, and the Giants are a great franchise to root for and easy to root for, and that's why I think that the Thanksgiving game broke ratings records between the Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. That moved the Dallas Cowboys to 8-3, and then it moved the Giants to 7-4. We see that the Dallas Cowboys and the Eagles are kind of trying to separate themselves as the top two teams in the NFC East. Let's see if the Giants can keep pace with that. And also, don't forget about Washington trying to play spoiler towards the end of the season. Now let's move on to the upset of the day, in my opinion. This game was one of... I didn't do a hashtag 5-pack of picks this week for last week, but I did make some wagers, and the Ravens laying the 3 points. I bought it down to 3 points off 3 and a hook. I said, let me lay those 3 points on the strength of Lamar Jackson, on the strength of Mark Andrews, on the strength of just the Ravens being a better team than the doggone Jacksonville Jaguars. I was so pissed. The Jaguars came back and won the game 28-27 on a last-second 2-point conversion play. There was a couple games this week that had last-second 2-point conversion wins, walk-off wins, and one of them was this game. The Ravens losing to the Jags. And it was in Jacksonville, so I'll give it to you. The Jags were home dogs, home 3.5-point dogs. But I really think that the Ravens were in position to win. They were up 19-10 at one point late in the game, and the Ravens, in their 4 losses, have been up by at least 9 points in all their losses in the fourth quarter, and they've lost most of their games in the last minute. So the Ravens dropped to 7-4. And the Ravens blow another lead. Hashtag, come on, man. That should be in the Monday Night Football, come on, man, if it's not. Because how are you going to lose all your games by comeback losses? What's gonna help the Ravens, and what I think my advice for the Ravens as a Miami Dolphins fan, because we beat you guys already, so I think I can give you advice to my little brother, the Baltimore Ravens, is that Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh, you're trying to scheme the game to be too much to make Lamar Jackson pass the ball. He's a great passer. Don't get me wrong. He threw 35 touchdown passes the year he won the MVP. And nobody's saying that he can't throw. I'm definitely not saying he can't throw. I know Lamar Jackson can throw. But there's very few quarterbacks, maybe just Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, that the more in their primes, that the more they throw the ball, the better chance of you winning the game. Most quarterbacks, you don't want them to throw the ball over 30 times. If they can throw the ball 27 times, be like 21 and 27 for 295 yards and 3 TDs, that's the perfect game. You don't want your quarterback to be sitting there 21 of 45 or 30 of 50. Like, that's just too much passing, and it gets your quarterback into trouble. I really need the Baltimore Ravens to take a page out of the Chicago Bears, take a page out of the Philadelphia Eagles, and run the ball more, do more design runs with Lamar Jackson. Y'all had great success the first year you changed up the scheme. But after watching a couple of the Ravens games, yeah, Lamar Jackson does run when he's off script, but he doesn't really have a ton of designed runs. So maybe you could incorporate that, John Harbaugh, and see what you could do. Lamar Jackson, like I said, look, he threw the ball 32 times. You don't want him to have to throw the ball 32 times because he went 16 to 32, which is only 50%, 254 yards and a touchdown. But he lost a fumble. So you need your team to step it up. You need the Ravens to step it up. One way they're going to do that is because the defense is always going to come to play. But the one way the Ravens are going to step it up is let Lamar cook. Let him get out in the open field more often instead of just trying to, when a play breaks down, then he can run it. I know you want him to run the ball and have success running the ball. I know he wants to show he can throw the ball. I know he wants to throw the ball, but the Ravens won't be as successful if Lamar Jackson doesn't use his God-given athletic ability more often. Let's get to the next game on the NFL News and Notes, and that is the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football beating the Packers 40-33 in Philly. The Packers were 6.5-point underdogs, and if you bought the hook, you're happy because you pushed. And this game was one of those games where the Eagles looked like they were going to destroy the Packers. They got up 13-0 in the first quarter, and the Packers were able to respond quickly and make it 13-7. After that, the Packers finished the first half being down 6 points, 20-14, and then they weren't able to close the gap closer than that at any point in the game. The Eagles are just plain difficult to stop on offense, damn near impossible to stop on offense. They may have the best offense in the league. This gives me always pause, though, whenever I say that, because I know preseason, you take it with a grain of salt or whatever, and the Dolphins scrimmaged the Eagles in preseason, and the Dolphins beat the Eagles in preseason, and the Dolphins beat the Eagles in their scrimmages. So, personally, I think the Dolphins are still the better team than the Eagles. Aaron Rodgers in this game, when they were down 27-14, he had to come out of the game because of either it was a rib or an oblique issue. He's already been battling a broken thumb on his throwing hand, and that was hurting. But now every time he was throwing the ball, he was doubling over in pain. He had to come out. So the Jordan Love experience got started. The backup quarterback for Green Bay Packers, who's been sitting for 2 years, is back. Came into the game, and he was able to have a decently good game and almost be like a stopgap for Aaron Rodgers. He was able to bring the Packers and keep the Packers within 7, except that the Eagles were able to run out the clock at the end, and the Packers just ran out of time. And Jordan Love, overall, though, he didn't throw any interceptions, didn't have any turnovers, and he kept the Packers competitive in that game. So I like to think that now if Aaron Rodgers is out any extended period of time, then Jordan Love looks like he has the skills. I was going to say skills and tools, and it turned into schools. So Jordan Love looks like he has the skills and the tools to take over as the Green Bay Packers starting quarterback and help the Packers get right for the rest of the season. Yeah, they probably won't make the playoffs, but maybe they can finish strong and have something going forward. Now let's get into the last game that I want to talk about. Oh, before that, Eagles, Dolphins, Super Bowl, collision course. Book it. Let's go, Dolphins. Fins up, baby. Now let's get into the Bucs versus the Browns. The Bucs had to travel to Cleveland. to play the Browns, but the weather wasn't bad. It was about 60. It was like a chilly 60, and the Cleveland Browns were able to edge the Bucs 23-17 in walk-off fashion in overtime. The Bucs were in the lead at one point 17-10, and the Browns were able to tie the game up late in the fourth quarter, and the Bucs could not win in regulation, so the Browns got the ball and scored first, and the Browns got the ball in overtime, and Nick Chubb ran in David Njoku got the game-winning touchdown pass. This moves the Bucs to 5-6, which is great because as a Dolphins fan, I like the Bucs. They're okay. And my best friend Eddie, he's a big Bucs fan, but with all due respect, I don't like Tom Brady, so that's all that shows for them, Bucs being 5-6. And what that shows me, the Bucs being 5-6, is that Tom Brady cannot put the team on his back anymore. Maybe the past 2 seasons in Tampa Bay, he was able to put the team on his back. When the defense is keeping you in the game and you need a drive to win the game, Tom Brady was there to do it. But now he doesn't have Scotty Miller and all those guys anymore. His team is a little bit more banged up. The O-line isn't the same. Tristan Wirfs is hurt again. Chubb carried the Browns to victory for Jacoby Brissett's last game, supposedly because the alleged sexual assault, the alleged sexual predator Deshaun Watson is coming back to start. Should be starting next week for the Browns. So Jacoby Brissett did all right. Shout out to Jacoby Brissett. Did a great job for the Browns as best as he could. He's a great player, a great person in the community. He actually went to Dwyer High School, and he grew up in Palm Beach Gardens High School, so he's a hometown hero, Jacoby Brissett. He won the state championship for Dwyer the years he was there, and he was also a backup for the Dolphins and the Patriots. But he was able to put the Browns in position and commit to the run where Nick Chubb carried the team for 26 carries, 116 yards, and a touchdown. And another reason why I'm happy that the Bucs are 5-6 is because I have a friendly wager with another pal of mine, Andrew. This goes out to you, Andrew, that I said the Dolphins would have a better record, would finish with a better record than the Bucs this year. So it's getting close to that clinching time. The Dolphins are 8-3, and the Bucs are 5-6. So this makes me think if the Dolphins win 3 more games, that will clinch. That should clinch as long as the Bucs lose 1 game so far. So after these NFL news and notes, we're going to get right into my NFL hashtag, soon to be world famous, hashtag 5-pack of picks. I was 33-24-2 coming into 2 weeks ago. I made these 5 picks. Let's just go over them. I had TCU -3 versus Baylor. TCU is undefeated, on a roll. They're the number 3 team in the country. Supposedly, the rankings officially come out. The CFP rankings officially come out this tomorrow on Tuesday, 11/29. But TCU -3 versus Baylor. They beat Baylor, but they didn't beat them by enough. They beat Baylor 29-28, so that's a L. So they didn't cover. So that's 0-1 on my hashtag 5-pack of picks. The next game I made a couple weeks ago, the next game I picked was FSU laying 24, laying the big number versus UL Lafayette. Well, I guaranteed that FSU was going to win that game, and they did, and they covered. FSU won 49-17 against UL Lafayette. FSU is in top form. They're right outside the ACC championship race. Next year, like I said, if Jordan Travis comes back, he will be a Heisman favorite going into the season. Jordan Travis is the Seminoles MVP this year, in my opinion. So that brought me to 1-1. The next game that I picked was the Giants laying the 3.5 versus the Lions, and that was a loss. The Lions won that game outright, 31-18, and I didn't cover, so that was 1-2. Then I picked the Packers a couple weeks ago on Thursday Night Football, laying the 2.5 versus the Titans, and that was an L. The Titans won 27-17. I won't bet against you next week, Telly, against the Titans. I won't bet against them again. So that was 1-3. And then I picked the Colts plus 6.5 versus the Eagles, and that was a win because the Colts narrowly lost to the Eagles 17-16. So my 5-pack of picks recap was 2-3, which brings my overall record to 35-27-2 this season in my hashtag 5-pack of picks. That's 8 games over 500, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get deeper into the money, deeper into the bag. Let's go. Let's go for the hashtag 5-pack of picks for this week. Leo Be the Lion coming to you live from Respectable Street every week, 5 to 6 on Monday here on Clematis in beautiful West Palm Beach. Hey, one more thing. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram at Leo Be the Lion Show, or check out my YouTube channel. I'd love if you subscribe or comment so we could debate in the comments at Leo Be the Lion on YouTube. Now, my hashtag 5-pack of picks for this week. It's Conference Championship weekend here in college football, ladies and gentlemen. So that means the excitement ratchets up, the intensity ratchets up, and the first game that I'm picking is TCU laying 2 in the hook against Kansas State on a neutral site. They say it's neutral, but I think it's leaning TCU's way. It's in Arlington, Texas. It's in Jerry World for the Big 12 Championship. I expect this to be a high-scoring game where Kansas State and TCU should have their way with the opposing defenses, but TCU will edge the Wildcats out because of this reason. Max Duggan, the quarterback for TCU, and Sonny Dykes, the coach for TCU, are a special combination. And shout out to my dog Eddie. He says whenever you have a special QB coach combination in college, that is a formidable and deadly combination. So I've been riding with TCU since they've been like 5-0. I believed in them since I saw Max Duggan and Sonny Dykes beat Oklahoma. I was like, oh yeah, but Oklahoma ended up having a down year. But I agree that, once I saw them beat Oklahoma and cover that, and then 3 straight weeks, TCU was a greater than 7-point favorite, and they covered 3 straight weeks, I knew. And then once they beat Texas, then they beat Baylor. Yeah, TCU's for real, ladies and gentlemen. They're likely to be ranked number 3 at the time this kicks off. You want to be able to not get kicked out of the top 4 in the playoffs, so every game matters. The CFP Bowl Committee, the playoff committee, is looking at all the games, making sure that you can have some style points because they do factor in style points. So if you have the chance to run it up on a team, you run it up on a team. TCU already beat Kansas State in Texas at home this year. But if it was in Manhattan, Kansas for the Big 12 Championship, I would worry. But it's in Arlington, Texas. Give me TCU laying 2 in the hook versus Kansas State for the Big 12 Championship. Next game that I have on my hashtag 5-pack of picks is USC laying 3 versus Utah in Las Vegas for the Pac-12 Championship. Caleb Williams is a Heisman favorite, Heisman front runner, especially after beating Notre Dame. The late Beano Cook said the 2 ways to win the Heisman is you play for Notre Dame or you beat Notre Dame. So Caleb Williams is definitely a Heisman front runner. USC lost to Utah earlier in the year in Utah, but it's in a neutral site in Las Vegas, and that was on a last-second play. They lost by 1 point against Utah. USC defense can stop the running attack of Utah, and I'm confident that USC will cover the 3 points. So give me USC laying 3 versus Utah for the Pac-12 Championship. Next, special. I usually throw in a pro game right now, but I'm bringing in a special Langford lock all the way from Maryland. Hey, if you have any trouble, slip and fall, personal injuries, or even criminal defense, shout out my boy Eddie Langford. He's an attorney up in Maryland, but he is licensed to practice in Florida. Shout out to Attorney Langford. He will take the case and fight for you. So, Clemson laying 8. Eddie's Langford lock is laying the 8 points versus North Carolina in Charlotte for the ACC Championship. I'm a little worried because it's in North Carolina, but Clemson is South Carolina, so the fans won't have to travel too far. Then, Clemson just lost to South Carolina, but Clemson has something to prove. Clemson has something to show for it, and I think that they're feisty and they'll try to to blow out North Carolina. North Carolina is a feisty team, and I expect it to be close early, but Clemson is the more talented team. So you got to, anytime in college football, you really got to give it to the more talented team on a neutral site. Now let's get into the pro game. I have 2 picks this week from my hashtag 5-pack of picks. It is the Dolphins plus 3.5, plus 3 in the hook, or you could buy it versus Frisco 49ers in San Fran. It's the first home tough road test for the Dolphins this year, but I believe Mike McDaniel will have the Fins ready to play. I think he knows what Kyle Shanahan's trying to bring, and he'll be able to stop that on defense. Tua is going to step it up because he's a gamer. Ever since he was at Alabama, he's a legend, and we cannot let Jimmy Garoppolo get off against us, and we got to force him to throw a pick or 2. Players to watch on San Fran, watch out for McCaffrey and Samuel, but give me the Dolphins plus 3 in the hook versus Frisco. Then my final hashtag 5-pack of pick is the Vikings at home, laying 3 versus the Jets. I like the home field advantage for the Vikings and to put pressure on Mike White. And the Vikings have plenty of firepower on offense with Justin Jefferson, with Kirk Cousins, with Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, and the like. Also, the Vikings will improve to 10-2 if they can win that, and the Jets will fall to 7-5. Yeah, the Jets just beat up on the Bears, but Mike White, when he goes up against a real team, I think Mike White will struggle. Now let's get into so real quick, my hashtag 5-pack of picks are TCU laying the 2.5, USC laying the 3, Langford lock Clemson minus the 8 versus North Carolina, Dolphins plus 3 in the hook versus Frisco, and the Vikings laying the 3 in Minnesota. Now let's quick talk about Monday Night Football. It's Steelers at Colts. Colts are 2.5-point favorites. It's 8:20 on ESPN networks. Colts are 2-0 against the spread since Jeff Saturday took over 2 weeks ago, and they're 1-1 straight up. They had the Eagles on the ropes and almost beat the Eagles last week, and the Steelers have looked horrible this season, but they just got T.J. Watt back, and they look like their defense is now going to be strong again. If the Colts defense can get after Pickett early and make Pickett throw a couple picks, then I really think the Colts will be able to cover and take care of business and move Jeff Saturday to 2-1 on his coaching record. Really quick, I got a couple minutes left, 2 minutes left. I just want to bring up this segment that I have at the end of the show every time. It's called hashtag Words of Encouragement or hashtag Whoa. It's more mental health tip this week. It's about don't procrastinate. It's okay to take time to make the decisions, but once you make the decision, take action. Don't procrastinate. Count each finished task as a win. Think to your head, you make a to-do list. If you check off all that to-do list, you won the day. And it'll make you feel better and you'll feel more confident about yourself. Especially, and I'm saying this because it does hit close to home sometime, if you deal with anxiety, your anxiety will subside a little bit more if you have a clean house. So say if you see dishes in the sink, or you have laundry that you need to fold, and it takes me 3 to 5 business days to fold laundry most of the time, and it's because the laundry's sitting there, I got to do it, I get anxious about it. But I wouldn't get anxious about it if I just go there, I see the laundry, okay, I do it, and do it in half a business day instead of 3 to 5 business days to put away my laundry. So when you do that, when you take care of business and you take action, you will feel better about yourself. You'll be telling yourself these little victories will positively impact your mental health. Not even if you don't count it, like you don't keep tabs, but if you just start making that routine and making those little wins a part of your daily routine, it's going to positively impact you, and it's going to give you more peace of mind. So that where is the one place you're supposed to have peace of mind and have peace is in your own home. So if you can make sure you keep a clean home, tidied up, and you take action. You don't leave things to sit. You don't leave the groceries to be put away. You don't leave the chores to be undone. And you actually do it and you take action. You'll be like a true lion, and you'll be like truly get confidence in yourself, and you have peace of mind so that when you come home from a hard day, you'll know, all right, I can chill now. This has been Leo Be the Lion Show, coming to you live every Monday, 5 to 6 from subcultureradio.com. Here at Respectable Street on Clematis in beautiful West Palm Beach. This is Leo Be the Lion signing off.